valuable commodity. Counting the cost at this time on Al Jazeera.
The relocation of the Ahmadiyya has magnified the issue of religious intolerance in Indonesia. Is this inevitable in a multicultural society? And is the government turning a blind eye? 101 East at this time on Al Jazeera.
14 competing teams, 13 different venues, 3 host nations. Cricket. And this competition is the pinnacle of the one-day game. We'll be bringing you all the action and reaction from India, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. The Cricket World Cup on Al Jazeera.
Personal blogs by professional journalists. blogs.aljazeera.net.
Libyan rebels say they're closing in on government strongholds, but there is a serious obstacle.
I'm Jackie Rowland at Al Breika in eastern Libya, where rebel fighters are bracing for a counterattack by pro-Gaddafi forces.
Good morning from Doha, where it is 10 a.m. 0700 hours GMT. I'm Kamal Santamaria with the world news from Al Jazeera. Muammar Gaddafi has made another fleeting appearance in Tripoli. He's still there, still fighting. As the crisis in Libya sends oil prices soaring, the Spanish government cuts speed limits to reduce fuel consumption. And in other news, France's far-right leader takes pole position. Could Marine Le Pen really become the country's next president? So the battle for control in Libya is still raging across the country. Muammar Gaddafi's forces unleashing a number of attacks on rebel-held territory, which in some cases appear to have been repelled. As ever, there are different takes on events presented by both sides. In the city of Misrata, these pictures show rebel forces celebrating after claiming victory over Gaddafi's forces. Misrata has been the scene of some of the heaviest fighting. At least 18 people are reported to have been killed in clashes there. Back in the capital, Colonel Gaddafi himself has made a brief appearance on state television showing his supporters, yes, he is still in Tripoli. While elsewhere in Libya, his forces continue to wage counterattacks in towns and cities secured by the rebels. Bin Jawad has apparently been reclaimed by Gaddafi's army, and residents are reportedly fleeing Ras Lanuf for fear of more fighting. Let's get the latest from Jackie Rowland. She is live in Brega for us in Libya. Jackie, the military situation, the build-up where you are, what's it like?
Well, I think what we're getting here is a timely lesson against making any predictions in the way this conflict is going to pan out. For a couple of days, the rebels were making gains here in the east, advancing all the way, as you said, towards Bin Jawad. But overnight, Sunday to Monday, it would appear that the pro-Gaddafi forces are rallying again. It seems as though they are attempting to draw a line in the sand, approaching Gaddafi's hometown of Sirte, and it's as if they're sending the rebels a message that if they want to try to capture Sirte, they should prepare themselves for heavy fighting every kilometre of the way.
The rebels are edging closer and closer to the Gaddafi heartlands. The territory they call Free Libya now extends almost as far west as Bin Jawad. That's just 200 kilometres from Gaddafi's hometown of Sirte.
We advanced to Bin Jawad and we discovered that Gaddafi troops had recruited teenagers and made them stand on the rooftops to shoot at us. After that, we decided to withdraw from Bin Jawad to work out a new strategy to return and capture the town.
The rebels are chaotic and living on their nerves. Their mood swings from panic to euphoria. But their great strength lies in the conviction that they are liberating their country. The skies are clear again after a sandstorm that lasted several days, and good visibility means enemy aircraft.
The rebels are vulnerable from the sky. The pro-Gaddafi forces have aircraft, the opposition fighters don't. It's their one really big disadvantage.
Capturing territory and capturing enemy soldiers too. The rebels take us to see a man they've been holding prisoner since Friday. He tells me he's a conscript in the Libyan army.
The army asked me what my specialty was. They posted me as a sentry and said, if you leave, we will shoot you.
Gaddafi's army may outgun the rebels, but the rebels outnumber the army. New volunteers are joining all the time and their morale is high. Just as well, since the heaviest fighting may still lie ahead.
And with heavier fighting still ahead, as you say, Jackie, the element of the human side of things, I guess, the casualties must be a huge issue. Where are they going? What is happening to them?
Well, yes, there have been heavy casualties in the last couple of days of fighting, and we've seen that simply from the huge number of ambulances on this strip of road. On Sunday, as the rebels were engaged in that fighting in Ben Jawad with the pro-Gaddafi forces, we counted, overtaking us on the road heading back towards the east, 4 ambulances at huge speed overtook us, really tearing up here towards Al-Breka and even to AlJazeera to bring the wounded back. We also know that during the course of the night, the hospital in Ras Lanuf, so the hospital closest to the front line, closed and has evacuated its patients. So clearly a lot of casualties, and as well the rebels actually trying to give some thought to where best to take their injured to and how best to hold them in a secure situation where the wounded themselves are not in danger of being caught up as the front line shifts in this fighting.
All right, Jackie Rowland reporting live from Brega. Thank you, Jackie. Mentioned Misrata a moment ago, east of Tripoli, the scene of more fighting. It is a city where the Opposition National Council is trying to establish its presence. A little earlier, Imran Gada spoke to Muhammad Ali, a member of the Council's Civil Committee for Misrata Affairs. Asked him how the rebels were going to continue their fight against the Libyan army.
Our armory is not a lot. What we rely on is willpower and the belief that we want to liberate our country, and the amount of dislike and hate towards the system and the dictator. I heard one of your earlier reports that Gaddafi might outgun us, but he will not outnumber us, and his forces do not have the determination that we have.
Do you want outside help?
Yes, specific help. A no-fly zone is long overdue, and selective surgical strikes, I think, are called for.
But these calls for direct military action are not necessarily being met with much enthusiasm, particularly in the United States. We've heard from Senator John Kerry, who says they would actually be counterproductive. He set out some other options. Have a listen.
1, prepare a no-fly zone in conjunction with our allies, not implement it. Certainly, first hope would be, if it were called on, to be done only in the context of international agreement and sanction. But right now they don't want that, and I think that's good. The last thing we want to think about is any kind of military